So back to our app, let's go and work on our on tap here. So on tap is going to be obviously the same what we had here. So in fact, I can come down here and copy this code. Let me make sure I get the correct code. Yes, I believe all of this would work. Let me copy that because we're navigating to the next route. Let's make sure. Get rid of that and uncomment what's necessary. Now we have a problem here because we have no access to movie list at this point. Remember, we are inside of this movie card function, okay, which returns a widget, but no problem. We have access to the actual movie, right? So we can just go ahead and say movie like this, which is the movie object. We can do the same here. Let's get rid of all of this. Say movie title. Now remember that we don't need to pass movie name anymore, but I'm just going to leave it there just in case you need to use it for any reason. All right, so if I save this, you will see that our app will have the same behavior as before. So click, and we still go to the next route. Okay, very good. That was very simple. Now back to our user interface. So we have the information. Things are looking decently okay. At least we know that we have created our custom card. Now it's time for us to create that nice circular image for our movie that we had before, but even better. To do that, I'm going to create another method that will return an image, right? So I'm going to call that movie image. So I'm going to say widget movie image. Notice that I'm also outside of this method that we created here, but still inside of this main class. Okay, that's why I click here. You're gonna see this is the class we are in. Okay, the stateless widget. Okay, movie image. And for a movie image, if you remember correctly, we need a URL string. So I'm gonna say string. Let's say image URL. Okay, very good. And obviously we need to return a widget. What widget we're going to return? Well, I'm going to pass a container because it's always easy to work with containers. I'm going to pass a width of about 100. Okay, these are just arbitrary numbers. You can always change them to your liking. And our height is going to be also 100. Okay, and I'm going to pass decoration. I'm going to pass a box decoration here. So we are not going to pass a color because we're going to overlay everything with image anyway. So let's go ahead and say shape. So notice here we could either pass a border, okay, radius as we've been using before, but we can also pass a box shape. This is a simple way for us to get a box shape right away. Okay, so I can shape, I say box shape like that. So I want a circle, of course, and then I'm going to pass an image, and the image, of course, has to be decoration image like such. Object in this case is going to be a network image. Notice I have to pass the URL. Where do I get this URL? Well, it's this one up here. Now here we can go ahead and just pass the image URL. Of course, that's fine, but in cases that this fails, so the URL is non-existent or is null, we can make sure to say that if that is the case, we don't have an actual functioning URL that we're receiving, we can then pass something else here. Now, I'm not going to leave it empty because that would just not be helpful. I can put some sort of a default image. So I have a link to get a default image. You can get anything you want to get a default image. I'm going to pass in there. Okay, so if this image URL that we're passing as a string, it's not right or something is wrong, we will have a placeholder, if you will, of an image. Okay, that works. Very good. And then I'm going to put a comma there and say fit. I want box fit cover, so to cover everything. Very good. So now we have it. Where do we call this movie image? The idea here is to put this image some sort of on top of this other view, which is our card. At this point, you should think of perhaps another widget that allows us to put things on top of each other, or put widgets on top of each other. Yes, we will have to change a few things, right, inside of our, go back up here, inside of our movie card. We'll have to change a few things so that we actually return a stack, right? Because a stack allows us to stack widgets on top of each other, and we can organize things that way. So very easily, I can just come here, Option Enter, and I'm going to add a new widget. And this one is going to be stack, like this. Okay, save. And it usually needs, let's see, I can change this to children. And of course, it doesn't help us much. I'm going to put just a widget like that. And we have to put those square brackets like this. All right, it was a little bit of work, but it's not that hard, as you see here. So we have a children. It says that we expect a list of widgets. We have the first one there. That looks good. Now, if I come down here and call movie image like this, and how do I pass the image URL? Well, I go through, so movie list, I need to get an object, of course, pass it the index, and then we realize that we need to go to images to get our images, because the post or the poster doesn't give us a useful URL. So we're just gonna live with images. Now we know this is a list. We're gonna go ahead and just pass the first one, or get the first item, okay? The first image we get. So just to put things into perspective, this is what we're doing. Earlier we realized that the poster image again wasn't working perfectly. All we're doing just going to images list and get the first one. All right. Let's give a save and see what's going to happen. And the moment you do that, you can see we have indeed our image, and if things are not that great, obviously, but you can see at least things are looking pretty nice. We have the image and all is good. All right, so let's fix all of this so that it actually looks way, way better than that. So the first thing I'm going to do for our image, first of all, we're going to use another widget called positioned. So the positioned allows us to enclose in a widget, and we can actually position it whatever we want to position it. So if I come down here and insert a new widget, I'm going to say positioned like that, hit enter. Now you notice that I have a few other options for me. So for position, I can say, for instance, the top, I can say bottom, I can say left, I can say right, so I can position our widget, the child widget. So I pass the position there. I'm going to also do the same to a movie card. Say new widget. Say positioned like that. Very good. In fact, I want this to go first, right? Because we want the card to show first, and then on top of that, we want to add the image. That makes sense. Remember that stack, the first thing you add to a stack is going to be at the bottom. That's the reason why you see actually this image is in the back of our card, which is not what we want. That's why the color is kind of shaded, or kind of, there's a shadow. Okay, so that's the problem here. So we need to change or reverse the positioning or the order. Now, if you save this, you're going to see now things are a little different. There we go. You see now is lighter because it came up front, because the image indeed is on top of the movie card, which is exactly what we want. Okay, now nothing really has changed much here because we put everything inside our position, but we haven't really positioned anything. This is where we come and do the actual work. Now, what I want to do, first of all, the movie image, I want to add a top of about 10. Okay, save. You can see it moved down. Very good. Okay, and that is fine. I don't need to position anything. In fact, I don't need to add a positioning for our movie in this case. I just remove one. I think this will get rid of that as well. Clean our code a little bit. There we go. So we don't need really to position our, so far at least, our movie card. Very good. So we have that looking good. Next, what we want to do, we want to move this edge of this card a little bit to the right. So left to right. That way we have this very nice effect, or this very nice user interface. You will see what I mean. To do that, we come back to where we are invoking our movie card. So we need to do some work here. So back to our movie card, inside of our container, I'm going to add a margin. Say margin as such. I'm going to pass edge insets. And I want to only use the left inset. So the left is going to be, let's give about 60. If you save this, all of a sudden you see it moved to the right, which is exactly what we wanted. Okay, so just a little changes here and there. You can see it changes the overall user interface, which is exactly what we want. Okay, if you see click and things still happen, that's very good. And voila, All right, so we're making really good progress here, and you notice now things are a little bit more visible. Of course, we have some padding issues, but we're going to solve that. But at least now we know that this is starting to look way, way better than what we had before. And all of this is customizable because we chose the path of customizing our user interface.